All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Creators and Experts podcast. I'm Denali, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Kelsey Vetter. She is a extremely distinguished Pinterest coach and poster herself, and is going to share a little bit more about that with us today. So, welcome.
Thanks, Denali.
Thank you for joining. So, the first question that I always really like to get into is how did you get started with content creation?
Yeah, so for me, content creation was kind of a means to an end of promoting my business. It was kind of something that if you want to have an online business or be in the online space, you have to become a content creator to promote it. So that is how I fell into content creation, and it's gone really well, and it's become something I really enjoy doing as a part of my business marketing strategy.
Wonderful. I think a kind of great place to lead from that is, I've noticed that you chose Pinterest over pretty much a lot of other platforms. And one of the reasons I've saw that you've cited is it works kind of like your brain, equal parts creative and analytical. Would you mind maybe elaborating a little more on that?
For sure. So social media, Pinterest, just to set the scene, Pinterest is not technically social media. It's actually a visual search engine. So it's a search engine by nature, as opposed to where on social media, you've got Pinterest has algorithms, but TikTok and Instagram and all that, you're really playing into algorithms and you're showing your face every day. And it's just this whole different game. Whereas Pinterest is really SEO driven, and it's more of a back end kind of like introverts platform, I like to call it. You don't have to show your face at all if you don't want to. And it allows you to create nice, pretty images, but also track analytics and data and all that kind of fun stuff. And I like all of that. So that is one of the many things that led me down this road of becoming a full-time Pinterest marketer.
That makes sense. And thank you for the clarification. I actually wasn't terribly aware of that difference. So,
That's
um,
pretty common. Most people, it gets grouped in, like you see the social media icons, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that stuff, but it really is not a very social platform at all. And it doesn't work at all like a TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. It's actually the third largest search engine behind Google and YouTube.
oh, would you say that that means there's a good amount of different skills that you need to really be successful with Pinterest as opposed to social media?
Definitely. There's a lot of overlap as well. I mean, nowadays content is king, regardless of what platform you're on, Pinterest or otherwise. But yes, with Pinterest, you really need to understand SEO and a different type of marketing brain. I like to say on Pinterest, you really want to be the solution. You're not just pushing a product like you could be on other social media platforms. But on Pinterest, you need to be the solution because users are coming to the platform looking for answers to their questions, solution, inspiration. Whereas on social media, they want to be more entertained. It's just like a little bit of a different mindset on Pinterest.
Makes sense. And so I imagine at a certain point you kind of had to get in and learn all of that. When in that time did you start to view it as more of an income source, as something you could use for your business?
Yeah, pretty early. So I worked a little background. I worked in corporate marketing for in the fashion industry in Los Angeles for about 10 years. I was just totally burnt out by that industry. Knew that I wanted to start my own business. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Dabbled into a couple different online spaces, drop shipping, all these things, print on demand, all those things that, online business gurus tell you are going to make you $1 million in a day. And kind of got my feet wet in the online business space and realized doing that Pinterest marketing was a really good way to promote any sort of online business. Just started I'd been a Pinterest user since the very beginning. And I didn't really see it from a marketing standpoint until I kind of was dabbling into how do I promote these online businesses for myself. And with my marketing background, it just clicked and it made sense for me. So I started my own Pinterest account. All of my family owns their own businesses. So I started asking them if I could set up Pinterest accounts for them. And that is when I really started to see, oh, people do this full time. Like there are Pinterest marketing agencies out there. This is really fun for me. It comes easy to me. Like this is the online business path that I was meant to take.
That's wonderful. It's kind of a follow-up. So being in corporate America and being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, is really different in a lot of ways and kind of similar in some ways. So I've got two questions on that. The first one is, are there any skills that transferred really well for you?
Totally. I think that having a background in corporate America is really important in the online space or in starting your own business. Seeing how businesses run and work, I think gave me a huge advantage. And just working in marketing for 10 years really propelled me into understanding, just marketing in general, which is what I do full time. So yeah, I think that I would not be where I was today without that experience in corporate America, as much as I hated it at the time. I'm very grateful for all the skills that I learned. I remember when I first started my own business, I'm like at my computer 8 hours a day, like I have to work all the time because that was what I was used to. And now I've been able to kind of like, okay, you're fine. You're getting your work done. You don't have to just sit at your computer for 8 hours because that's what you're used to. You can get up and like take a walk at lunch and come back and maybe work when you have a little bit more energy. And that took a really long time for me to get into that, like you are your own boss mindset, but now I've got it down.
That's really good. I think that's what I've heard echoed a lot in these interviews is when you come from that structure, the structure is sometimes both the blessing and the curse. Um,
Totally.
and on dealing with that. So are there any things on the flip side of that that you have to had to unlearn? Is there anything you had to say, this doesn't work in this space?
Gosh, I think the overworking, the grind, and what I was just talking about, just this matter of like you have to just be sitting there and be stressed all the time. And I had to really unlearn that's not normal. Like you can chill out, and that's when the success actually comes if you're just happy and you're in flow and you work with amazing clients. And it took me a really long time to get out of that mentality of like hustle and grind. And not that I don't hustle and grind and work hard in my business, but it's just a different mindset than when you're so overworked and taken advantage of in corporate America. At least that was the case for me, that I had to really let go of that kind of like constant stress and anxiety of like I'm not doing enough. So that was a big one, but I'm very grateful and lucky that everyone in my family is an entrepreneur. I was the last one to start my own business. So I had a lot of mentors and a lot of people to ask questions to and look up to and see how this all works, because being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. And it's a whole different thing, especially when you're used to working a corporate job. So I was very lucky, and I would encourage anyone that doesn't have that support to seek out that support and find mentors like that, because it's super important to surround yourself with other people that are doing what you want to be able to do.
That makes really good sense. And a follow up to that. So, be it yourself, your clients, or those entrepreneurs in your family, have you found that there are any really good strategies? So, be it for being creative in a business, being creative in content creation, that help you or help any of them?
Oh gosh. I think just being authentic is the most important thing. I think just showing up as yourself and not consume creating more than you consume. That's a big one. I think we get caught up in seeing what other people are doing, but just being authentic and doing what makes sense for you is the most important thing you can do in business, in my opinion. There's clients that I've turned down to work with because they just don't align with my business and my values. There are practices that I've had business coaches tell me, you cannot succeed unless you do X, Y, and Z, but they never felt right for me. So I didn't do those things, and I have a thriving business. So you just have to do, I think, what feels right and authentic and aligned for you, and just kind of block out the noise of everything else, because there's so much noise in the online space. So being authentic and just figuring out what works for you. And even if people tell you you can't succeed without doing a certain thing, you'll make it work.
That makes sense. As to what maybe some of those business coaches tell you, one of the questions I have written down is, are there any sorts of pieces of advice or just downright unhelpful tips in this online business creator space that you found really prevalent?
Oh gosh, I feel like there are so many. The one in particular that always comes to mind for me, because my business coach, who is great and wonderful, she told me you cannot succeed unless you're constantly in people's DMs and building relationships in people's DMs on Instagram. I hardly even post on Instagram. I've never sent a single message like reaching out to someone on Instagram unless they've reached out to me. And then, of course, I'll communicate. But she that point blank said, you can't succeed if you don't nurture relationships in DMs on Instagram. And that just never felt right to me. I don't like when people reach out to me just, hey, great to connect with you. And there's just totally cold. And I'm working in marketing and sales for so long. I was really turned off by that anyway, having to reach out to a lot of people in my corporate job. So that is one in particular that if that doesn't feel aligned to you, if you don't like people doing that, I guess this is a general good rule of thumb. If you don't like when people do a certain type of marketing to you, don't do that to other people, even if people say that that's the key to success. So yeah, that's the one that always sticks out of my mind is you must be in people's DMs. Otherwise, you know, you're never going to get any business. I think attraction marketing has worked better for me and feels more authentic. And I think works for me as a consumer, which is why I like to implement that in my business instead of like hounding people to work with me.
Hey, I think one of the more prevalent themes in a lot of these interviews has been just that, been do what you're comfortable with. Comparing yourself to what has made other people successful will not guarantee you success. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of working the way you want and making sure that you're working hard, but it's kind of down your path, not what you think is the right thing.
Totally. It's authentic and it makes sense for you. Yeah, there's a lot of bad advice out there and you just have to do what feels right for you and just block out everything else because there's a lot.
Right. So to shift gears a little bit here, being in this content creator, solo entrepreneur space can feel, I think, really lonely for plenty of people because you're by yourself for the most part. You might have your friends and your coaches and your mentors who are there with you, but you're still kind of on your own journey. So I often like to get into a little bit of the struggles and how you've overcome them. So I'll give you a sec. Are there any struggles, especially as you made the transition, that come to mind that you really had to kind of get over as a hurdle?
Working just by myself. I think just being alone all day, I love working from home and I love being by myself, but sometimes you just need to like talk through something with someone else. Or just like, is this idea good? Or what do I do with taxes or whatever? Like so many questions come to mind that you just have no idea, especially when you're first starting out. You really don't know what you're doing. So I think for me, when I was first starting out, it was just figuring out everything that I was supposed to be doing. Like I said, I was just sitting at my computer 8 hours a day, like trying to think of ideas and push out things and grow this business. And then once I kind of, let go of that, things started to happen. And now, a couple of years down the road, it's more of exactly like you said, it is a little bit lonely because you're just by yourself all the time. And for me, what's kind of helped with that is getting out of the house, working at a coffee shop or a co-working space. And then also having online business communities that you can just like chat in. I don't like to do online co-working sessions because that's just doesn't, I just sit there and I'm like, I don't get any work done. But having people that you can communicate with, like online groups or businesses of other entrepreneurs that are in your same situation that you can learn from has been super important and really helpful for me to not go crazy just wondering what the heck I'm supposed to do.
Okay. I think that's a really good tip for a lot of people to find those communities. When you're first starting, how would you recommend, say, someone brand new, just entered this solo entrepreneur space, has all those questions about taxes, what do I do next? How would you recommend they find those people to talk to?
Yeah, so I was really lucky. I found my business coach, and she has a group. It's called the Success Society. If anyone listening to this wants to become a part of it, let me know. I'll refer you. But it's great. It's just a group of other online entrepreneurs that are all kind of at various journeys of our online business journey. But we can all ask each other questions, and there's group weekly coaching calls where you can ask things from people who have already been there and had those same questions that you have. So it's just really nice to have a group like that. I found her, I think, via TikTok originally a couple of years ago, and I've been a part of the group ever since. So there's tons of options and resources out there like that. I would highly recommend joining a group like that with people that are already doing what you want to be doing. They've they probably have been in your shoes. They know how to file taxes. Hopefully they have good resources for all of that kind of stuff. Or what if I have a problem with a client, or how do I raise my prices? All those different questions that come up as you're going along, after you get started. It's really nice to have people to ask. So I would definitely recommend finding a group like that, finding a business coach. It doesn't have to be one of those like tens of thousands of dollars courses. This group is like $9 a month. And it's really valuable. So find something like that. They do exist, and find a business coach that is within your price range and has been doing what you want to do. I think that's the most important thing. Find someone who is in a place in their business where you want to be and that you can learn from. And mentorship and networking is super, super important.
That's really good advice. Now, I want to shift gears just a little bit and give you a chance to talk about Hub with Kahana or any other new projects that you're kind of getting started with. So I'll just turn it over to you for that.
Sure. So I just launched my first hub with Kahana. It's not going to be my last. I'm working on a bunch more. It's super great. I love using Kahana just on the back end. It's really user friendly for me. And my first hub that's out there right now is called the Pinterest Success Session. It's about an hour to complete. Basically, by the end, you know everything that I know about how to succeed with Pinterest marketing, from how to set up a business account to how to research keywords, what kind of keywords to research, what to post and when, how to use the trends tool, everything you need to know about the platform, because I understand for most people it's daunting and overwhelming, and because it is so different than TikTok or Instagram. But if you are a creator and you're already creating content, why not diversify your platforms? There's no reason you shouldn't be using Pinterest. Pinterest is by nature a traffic driver. So all pins link back to your website. As long as you have a website or some sort of URL to promote, you should be on Pinterest. It's not like on, TikTok where you maybe have to rely on a video to go viral to get thousands of clicks to your website, and then the next month you have to get another one to go viral. It's not like that. You can push out pins, set up a foundation on Pinterest, and then maybe after 3 to 6 months, you're consistently getting those thousands of clicks to your website every single month. And you don't have to rely on going viral. So that's one of the main reasons I love Pinterest and what I teach in my current hub, with some more coming soon.
That's really great. And I think that's a very good way of looking at it as someone that's really process oriented myself. I often feel when you're trying to get something to go viral, it makes you almost nervous a little bit. But when you have that consistent traffic, you're like, I've built something, it feels a little safer even. And I think that's just a very good strategy for kind of maintaining income as opposed to just kind of catching gold here and there. And
Exactly.
then the last thing I want to ask before we bring it to a close here is what makes you most excited about creating? So in general, what do you enjoy the most? What kind of makes you the most excited? It doesn't have to make you the most money or anything like that. Just what's the most enjoyable?
About creating, I think the community that comes along with it, like I said, we talked about you're lonely at home. So to creating an online community and having people to talk to, even if it's through a screen, I've been really fortunate that every person that I have in my online community, whether that's a social media follower or business group community member or Pinterest follower, are super nice and friendly, and everyone's really great. And it's really nice to connect with people that are like-minded and want to learn and want to connect over being small business owners. So I think for me, the community aspect of creating is super fun. It's not the like going viral or getting thousands of views or whatever. It's the nice people online, because the internet can be a really mean place, that want to connect with you. And I just love the online community aspect.
That's, I think, a perfect answer, and it ties everything together pretty nicely. Is there anything before we bring it to a close here that you wanted to mention that you might want to talk about? I'll just kind of turn it over to you.
Gosh, well, if you need Pinterest marketing support, I'm a Pinterest manager and strategist. I have my hub, of course, where you can learn how to do Pinterest marketing yourself, or tons of other different services where I set up your account, where I manage your account full time. You can check out my TikTok, my Instagram, my website, kelseyvetter.com, and Kelsey Vetter Co. on socials.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to link those. And thank you so much for joining. I'm excited to get this out there and get everyone going to your hub.
Thanks, Denali. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Well,